everyone, today welcome back to Reading with a Random Guy. I'm Random Guy, and today we're going to read a new book, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Alright, so I've got a reading, a digital book. What's it called? I don't know, but anyways. So, The Adventure of Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle. Who is that? Alright, so we are going to go through chapters of each, going to different chapters of each story. So we got story number 1. We're going to read chapter 1, and the next day we'll read chapter 2 and 3. And you know the drill. So now, 1. A scandal in Bohemia. Bohemia? What is Bohemia? It is socially unconventional, artistic people in their areas. They frequent view collectively Francis couch surfs around what remains of New York City's Bohemia, one of the legendary figures of London's literacy, Bohemia. I don't know. It sounds weird, and it is. Alright. Oh, stop. Chapter 1. To Sherlock Holmes, she is always the woman. Is Sherlock Holmes a woman or a man? I thought he was a man. It was a man, not a woman. I have seldom heard him mention her under any other name. In his eyes, she eclipsed and predominate. Predominate? What does that mean? Be the strongest or main element. Be greater in number or amount. Small scale producer predominate in the South. I thought it's predominant. Predominate the whole of her sex. No, not like that whole, not like the whole, like the whole amount. You know, like all. It was not that he felt any emotion akin to love for Irene Adler. All emotions, and that one particularly, were abhorrent to his cold. What is this? Abhorrent, objective, the inspiring, disgusting, and loathing, the repugnant. Racism was abhorrent to all of us. Oh, okay. To his cold, precise, but admirably balanced mind. He was, I take it. What? The most perfect reasoning and observing machine that the world has seen. But as a lover, he would have placed himself in a false position. He never spoke of the softer passion, save with the gift and a sneer. They were admirable things for the observer, observer excellent. Is observer excellent? Wait, what? There is like this thing right here. I don't know, is that a typo or something? But observer, excellent for drawing the vein from men's motives. That looks weird, but I take it. Take with a whatever, and actions. But for the trained reasoners to admit such intrusions into his own delicate and finely adjusted temperament was to introduce a distracting factor which might throw a doubt upon all his mental results. Grit in a sensitive instrument, or a crack in one of his own high-powered lens would not be more disturbing than a strong emotion in nature such as his. And yet there was but one woman to him, and that woman was the late Irene Adler of dubious and questionable memory. I had seen little of Holmes recently. My marriage had drifted us away from each other. My own complete happiness and the home-centered interest which rise up around the man who first finds himself master of his own establishment were sufficient to absorb all my attention, while Holmes, who loved every form of society with his whole Bohemian soul, remained in our lodging in Baker Street. Weird. Buried among his old books and alternating from week to week between cocaine and ambition, the drowsiness of the drug, and the fierce energy of his own keen nature, he was still, as ever, deeply attracted by the study of crime, and occupied his immense faculties and extraordinary powers of observation in following about those clues and clearing up those mysteries which had been abandoned as hopeless by the official police. From time to time, I've heard some vague account of his doings, of his summons to Odessa, in the case of the Trepov murder, I don't know, of his clearing up of the singular tragedy of the Atkinson brothers at Trincomalee, and finally of the mission which had led which he had accomplished so delicately and successfully for the reigning family of Holland. Beyond these signs of activity, however, which I merely shared with all the readers of the daily press, I knew little of my former friend and companion. One night, it was on the 12th of March, 1888. I was returning from a journey to a patient. For now, I have returned to civil practice. When my way led me through Baker Street, as I passed the well-remembered door, which just always be associated in my mind with my wooing and with the dark incidents of the study in scarlet, I was seized with a keen desire to see Holmes again, and to know how he was employing his extraordinary powers. His rooms were brilliantly lit, and even as I looked up, I saw this tall, spare figure pass twice in the dark silhouette against the blind. He was pacing the room swiftly, eagerly, with his head sunk upon his chest and his hands clasped behind him. To me, who knew his every mood and habit, his attitude and manner told their own story. He was at work again. He had risen out of his drug-created dreams and was hot upon the scent of some new problem. I rang the bell and was shown up to the chamber which had formerly been in part of my own. Wait.
Lạnh đấy.
All right. His manner was not effusive. Effusive? It seldom was, but he was glad, I think, to see me. With hardly a word spoken, but with a kindly eye, he waved me to an armchair, threw across his case of cigars. What fell? Oh, just that. Good. And indicated a spirit case and gasoline in the corner. Then he stood before the fire and looked me over in a singular introspective fashion. "Red luck suits you," he remarked. I think, Watson, that you have put on 7.5 pounds since I saw you." 7, I answered. "Yeah, that a half is already wrong. It's only 7, my guy. It's only 7. "Indeed, I should have thought a little more. Just a trifle more. I fancy, Watson, and in practice again, I observe. Did you not tell me that you intended to go into harness? Then how did you know? How do you know?" "I see it. I deduced it. How do I know that you have been getting yourself very wet lately?" Wait, what? "Very wet lately. And that you have a most clumsy and careless servant girl." "Oh, my dear Holmes," said I. "What is said I? I said, not said I." "This is too much. You would certainly have been burned had you lived a few centuries ago. It's true that I had a country walk on Thursday and came home in a dreadful mess. But as I have changed my clothes, I can't imagine how you deduced it. As to Mary Jane, she is incorrigible. I don't know. And my wife has given her notice. But there, again, I fail to see how you worked it out." He chuckled to himself and rubbed his long, nervous hand together. "It is simplicity itself," he said. "My eyes tell me that on the inside of your left shoe, just where the firelight strikes it, the leather is scored by 6 almost parallel cuts. Obviously, they have been caused by someone who is very careless, who has very carelessly scraped round the edges of the sole in order to remove the crusted mud from it. And so you see, my double deduction that you have been out in bad weather, and that you had a particular magnet, boot-sitting specimen of the London slavery. What? Slavey. London slavery? As to your practice, if a gentleman walks into my room smelling of uniform with a black mark of nitrate of silver upon his fingers, on his right forefinger with a bulge on the right side of his top hat to show where he has secreted this stethoscope. I must be dull, indeed, if I do not pronounce him to be an active member of the medical profession. I could not I could not help laughing at the ease with which he explained his process of detection. When I hear you give your reasons, I remarked, the thing always appears to me to be so ridiculously simple I could easily do it myself. Though at each successive instance of your reasoning, I am baffled until you explain the whole process, and yet I believe that my eyes are as good as yours. Quite so, he answered, lighting a cigarette and throwing himself down into an armchair. You see, but you do not observe. The distinction is clear. For example, you have frequently seen the steps which lead from the hall to this room. Frequently? How often? Well, hundreds of times. Then how many are there? How many? I don't know. Quite so. You have not observed. And yet you have seen. That is just my point. Now, I know that there are 17 steps because I have both seen and observed. By the way, since you are interested in those little problems, and since you're good enough to chromosome, one or two of my trifling experiences, you may be interested in this. He threw over a sheet of thick pink tinted notepaper which had been lying open upon the table. It came by the last post, he said. Read it aloud. The note was undated, without either signature or address. They will call upon you tonight at 7:45, it said. A gentleman who desires to consult you upon a matter of the very deepest moment. Your recent services to one of the royal houses of Europe have shown that you're one who may safely be trusted with matters which are of an importance which can hardly be exaggerated. This account of you we have from all quarters received. Be in your chamber then at that hour, and do not take it amiss if your visitor wear a mask. This is indeed a mystery, I remarked. What do you imagine that means? I have no data yet. It is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. Insensibly, the one begins to twist facts to suit theories, instead of theories to suit facts. But the note itself, what do you deduce from it? I carefully examined the writing and the paper upon which it is written. The man who wrote it was presumably well-to-do, I remarked, endeavoring to imitate my companion's processes. Such paper could not be brought under half a crown a packet. It is particularly strong and stiff. Particular? That is the very word, said Holmes. It is an English paper. It is not an English paper at all. Hold it up to the light. So, I did so, and saw a large E with a small G, a P, like a small G, a P, not like A, and a large G with a small T woven into the texture of the paper. Egypt. Egypt? No, it's not Egypt. There's no Y or I meant. What do you make of that? Asked Holmes. The name of the maker, no doubt. Or his monogram, rather. Not at all. The G with the T stands for G-Cells Craft, which is the German for company. It is a customary contraction, like your co.p, co-op, cooperation. P, of course, stands for papier. Now for the EG, let us glance at our conventional Gastier. He took down a heavy brown volume from his sleeve. Eglodnitz. Here we go. Egria. It is in a German-speaking country, Bohemia, not far from Carlsbad. Remarkable, as the being in the scene of the death of Wallenstein, and for its numerous glass factories and paper mills. My boy, what do you make of that? His eyes sparked, and he sent up a great blue triumphant cloud from his cigarette. The paper was made in Bohemia, I said. Precisely, and the man who wrote the note is the German. Do you note the peculiar construction of the sentence? This account of you we have from all quarters received. A Frenchman or a Russian could not have written that. It is the German who is so uncourteous to his verbs, and it only remains, therefore, to discover what is wanted by this German, who writes upon Bohemian paper and prefers wearing a mask to showing his face. And here it comes, if I'm not mistaken, to resolve all our doubts. As he spoke, there was a sharp sound of horses' hoofs and grating wheels against the curb, followed by a sharp pull at the bell. Holmes whistled. A pair, by the sound, he said. Said he. What is said he? Was English bad back then? Yes, he continued, glancing out the window. A nice little broken and a pair of beauties. 150 guineas apiece. There's money in this case, Watson. If there's nothing else, I think that I had better go home. I think that better go, Holmes. Not a bit, Doctor. Stay where you are. I am lost without my Boswell, and this promises to be interesting. It would be a pity to miss it. But your client, never mind him. He may want your help, so may he. Here he comes. Sit down. in that armchair, doctor, and give us your best attention. And don't ask why I do Russian accent for a Brit, because I just like doing that, and I don't know. Should I continue? I think it's going to be long. I wonder how long I've been recording this. And also I have a class, so, maybe I'll read this. I'll continue. A slow, heavy step, which had been heard upon the stairs and the passage, paused immediately outside the door. Then there was a loud and authoritative tap. Like, "Come in," said Holmes. A man entered who could hardly have been less than 6 feet 6 inches in height, with the chest and limbs of a Hercules. His dress was rich with richness which would, in England, be looked upon as akin to bad taste. Heavy bands of astrachans were slashed across the sleeve and front of his double-breasted coat, while the deep blue cloak, which was thrown over his shoulder, was lined with flame-colored silk and secured with at the neck with a brooch, which consisted of a single flaming beryl, which is extended halfway up his calves, and which were trimmed at the top with rich brown fur, completed the impression of barbaric opponents, which was suggested by his whole appearance. He carried a broad-brimmed hat in his hand, while he wore across the upper part of his face, while extending down past the cheekbones, with a black visored mask, which he had apparently adjusted that very moment, for his hand was still raised to it as he entered. From the lower part of the face, he appeared to be a man of strong character, with a thick hanging lip and a long straight chin, suggestive of resolution pushed to the length of obstinance. German voice. I don't know how to do German voice. Ah, yes. You have my letter? He asked with a deep, harsh voice and strongly marked German accent. I told you that I would go. He looked from one to the other of us, as if uncertain which to address. Pray, take a seat, said Holmes. This is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson, who is occasionally good enough to help me with my cases, whom have I the honor to address. You may address me as the Count von Kram, a Bohemian nobleman. I understand that this gentleman, your friend, is a man of honor and discretion, whom I must trust with a matter of the most extreme importance. If not, I should much prefer to communicate with you alone. I rose to go, but Holmes caught me by the wrist and pushed me back into my chair. It is both or none, said he. Why is it always said he, said I, or something? You must you may say before these gentlemen anything which you may say to me. The Count shrugged his broad shoulder. Then I must begin, he said. Said he, by binding you both to absolute secrecy for 2 years. At the end of that time, the matter will be of no importance. At present, it is not too much to say that it is of such weight. It may have an influence upon European history. I promise, said Holmes. And I, the character. So there are a total of 9 pages in chapter 1. I am regretting this. You know what? I am going to end this. So, anyways, this is going to be the end of today's session of Reading with a Random Guy, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye!